Alright guys, so today we have a very cool topic on our hands, but before we get started, I wanted to say, because I know some people in my community are wrestling fans, and I wanted to say that Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt, passed away yesterday, and I just feel so sad about it, and I think most of the community does. So I guess I wanted to share that with you because it genuinely makes me feel better to like talk to you guys, even though I'm just talking into a camera, but like talk to you guys and make videos. He was so special, and I'm a huge wrestling fan, and it just really meant a lot to me, all of the work that he did. So I feel really sad about it, and if there's any of you guys out there like sharing my feelings, I guess that's why I wanted to mention this. But I'm super hyped to get into today's video. But for the love of respect, we are rocking his incredible merch today, which I had for years. And Firefly Funhouse was genuinely the most genius thing on TV at that point in time, and probably in a very long time. It was amazing. But this was probably a weird intro, but I just wanted to say it. But for today's video, like I said, we have a very amazing topic. We're going to be talking about cards that people want back and arguably could come back off the ban list, but just never did yet. So if you like this video and if you have any of your own cards that should make the list, make sure to share it in the comments. I really want to read you guys' thoughts. And please let me know if any of the cards that I mentioned today should actually come back in your opinion. For the first card, I have very deep feelings about it, and it's Colossus. Now, I wanted to mention Colossus. So many people talk about it, and I also asked the question on Twitter, what's your ban list wish list? And that's sort of where I took the inspiration for this video. Many people like wanted cards to be brought back, and Colossus was on many people's lists. So basically, it's just this fan favorite archetype. Toss format is obviously so highly regarded from players, and I feel like because of that, people just want to play Thunder Dragons. It's reminiscent of the format, and also not to mention that like people still try to play Thunder, and I think that's saying something. Like here and there you will see a top with like a random pile of dragon stuff, and then there's always like this tiny Thunder package, which is like a little weird because there's no Colossus, but people still want to play it. Or if you play like a very Thunder oriented strategy, then your boss monster is literally Titan, which is okay, but it is only a pop. I think there's just this general opinion that people love the format and would just want to see one of the boss monsters of the format return. Because also just looking at Thunder Dragon as a whole, it was such a cool strategy because it didn't like, it wasn't regular. You weren't as reliant on like normal summoning and then doing a combo. Most of your stuff was just special summoning and triggering off of being banished. And just this entire mechanic was really interesting. I personally enjoyed it a ton. And also just looking at it a tiny bit more objectively, could Colossus actually come back? And there are arguments for and against it. It would be this very interesting balance to the meta, in my opinion, although it could prove itself to be a tiny bit toxic. So maybe we like need one Colossus back, and then we see if that's even like a thing, if that can, I guess, make the meta okay and healthy. Maybe not. But obviously there's a lot of arguments for bringing the card back because there are so many outs that exist to it. There is many negation effects and just cards that deal with the entire board, like Dark Ruler or Droplet or stuff like that. So it's a little easier to deal with. Not to mention that there is removal that wasn't in the game like present, like Zeus and the likes. Dealing with Colossus was a pain, but right now they released so many new monsters, different archetypes and cards specifically that could deal with this card, and I just feel like it would be kind of cool to see it back just because people love it so much. Now, next one is Masterpiece. This one is also like, it is a little toxic, and I'm not sure how I guess viable it will be if it returns. True Draco did kind of fall off. Card of Demise is a 1, Diagram is a 1. Draco was hit in the past, but like overall just the meta shifted so hard. Like power creep is obviously a thing, and Draco was relevant so many years back that it's not even guaranteed that Masterpiece would be, I guess, a viable monster. However, a lot of people still want it back because some players actually really enjoy True Draco. Now, it is an interesting play style. It probably doesn't suit everybody, but some people really, really enjoyed it. And Masterpiece was just this iconic monster that you would have to deal with, and it would be so annoying. And like some decks, just because of power creep and everything that I mentioned, kind of deserve to have this one unfair card to be able to compete and maybe still a win or two. It is, like I said, very, very hard to deal with. Making something unaffected is amazing. It is literally the best way to make it so your monster cannot be interacted with. So like I said, I'm not sure how amazing it would be to have Masterpiece back, but so many players want it. And just Draco was this very, I guess, impactful deck because it really shifted the format. After Zodiac and everything that happened, Draco started to, I guess, merge with it. Draco Zoo was a very popular deck as well. And then after that, it kind of shifted to Lynx and everything changed. I would say that 2017 really was the point where a lot of things took a huge shift, and Draco was there to witness it. And it was this, I guess, counterweight to everything that was happening because it was so different in the playstyle. And I also think that that's sort of the reason why people have this nostalgic view on that deck. So yeah, Masterpiece definitely on the list. And the next one is Electrumite. Now this one is one of my personal favorites. Again, so Colossus, Electrumite. Obviously, I love everything Pendulum, and Pendulum in itself is just incredible in my opinion, but many people hate it, and I understand why. It is kind of tough to deal with, especially if it goes first. Like the combos that Pendulum was doing was wild back when Electrumite was still at 3 and you could play multiples. It wasn't a hard once per turn, and you could do stuff with LP and Agarpain, and that was years back. But it was such a cool take on the deck because before that, like, Pendulum was always present. It was just always doing different things. You know, you had Kirin and all of that, which I didn't play back then. I did witness like Meta Foes with True Draco, which is interesting. And then a very cool Pendulum Magician deck. But in the previous Master Rule, you couldn't really like go crazy and summon XYZ and fusion monsters and synchro monsters in the main monster zone. So you were very limited. And then Electrumite just became this amazing solution to everything Pendulum, pretty much. Like, the advantage that it gave you was almost incomparable. It was also a little more easy to establish some combos, and you just kind of went wild. And I think that's also why many players like it, because Pendulum is it's kind of funny because if you like Pendulum, you love Pendulum. If you dislike Pendulum, you hate Pendulum. So it's kind of like most of the players that like Pendulum want Electrumite back because it just granted so much to Pendulum decks. And I literally said Pendulum like 1,000 times already. And yeah, no other monster really came close. And I think it would push the Pendulum strategy to another level because it really fell off with the Electrumite ban. But I understand why it's still banned. They are kind of afraid to push all of these cards, and they have other things on their minds with different decks. So yeah, definitely a fan favorite, but not that likely to actually come off the ban list, which is really sad. So let's talk about Harp Horror. I had to mention it. Orcust was definitely one of those decks that really made the years of 2019, 20, and around that time memorable. Like, Orcust came into the meta and wasn't really amazing, and then all of the combos started, and I think Orcust just sort of like, it just grew out of proportions. There were literally memes, people were doing memes with the Orcust combo and stuff like that. It was just this, I don't know, the entire community, I feel like, was just overwhelmed with Orcust and everything that was happening in that point in time. Just the format was really fun to play. It was also quite skill intensive when you look at some of the matchups, and just overall in the last couple of years we've had some really interesting combo decks in the meta. Like, there was a lot happened, and Orcust was just one of the coolest decks because you could splash it with other strategies. So it was like always, okay, let's play a Pendulum deck and then like, let's Orcust combo at the end, or let's do this and let's Orcust combo, let's pair it together with Sky Striker. Like, it was just everywhere. Just like I mentioned with Thunder Dragon, the format was very enjoyable, so people like to remember it with like love and, I guess, admiration of the metagame. So Harp Horror is definitely on the top of people's list of cards that should return, not only because like all of the, I guess, fun that we had with the deck as a community, or most of the community at least, because like at the end it got a little bit stale, but still, not only because of that, but also because I feel like, and a lot of people feel like, that it wouldn't make a difference. Like, the metagame changed, and power creep happened, and orcas just couldn't really compete, I think, with only one Harp Horror. There are way too many things that deal with the graveyard and everything that Orcus is trying to accomplish. So I don't think it would be a bad thing for Harp Horror to come back. And that's also sort of why people are a tiny bit pissed, because like it could return, but they just kind of refuse to put it back because they're pushing other products. So if it comes back, I think now would be the perfect time to do it, because they sort of like tested the waters with Engage and nothing really came out of that. They might put Harp Horror back at one point in time, and we can only hope. So for the last card, I wanted to mention Block Dragon. And this format specifically is one of the most hated ones from a lot of people's perspective. It was in the middle of COVID, so everything was just a little bit weird. Like, you didn't really know if you should purchase cards, there weren't really any events, and it was just kind of awkward. So that's also why. And when you look at the actual Adamantia strategy, Block Dragon pushed this deck too far. Like, I always bring this up, when I had a match, completely bricked, top deck Block Dragon, and I OTK'd. And at that point in time, I looked at the deck, I was like, okay, this is stupid. This is insane. One card should not be able to establish this. Like, OTK through a complete brick, and my opponent actually playing and doing things, and I could still accomplish that. I was like, okay, we need to take a step back and reconsider this, because like this should not be a thing. And when they hit it, it felt like the correct thing to do. But now looking at the Adamantia deck, which by itself was really, really fun. Like, to me, I didn't hate the format. I felt like the entire like excavation and everything was just so fun to play. But I understand that it was really annoying to play against. So right now with the deck very, very hindered, Block Dragon could potentially make a comeback. We don't have Union Carriers, so that's not an issue, which was an insane issue at that point in time. There is no Hulky Fibrax, no Link Cross, none of the cards that really made the strategy more toxic. So I feel like if you're trying to push a deck, like random stuff, I think it deserves a card that like does a very specific thing, that has to do with a very specific attribute and all of that, and you could potentially use it in many different decks. I think the people would be overjoyed, and it would just be really, really nice. But then, of course, I also understand the viewpoint of a lot of players just hating on the format, that don't want to remember it and don't want nothing to do with it. I completely understand. But like, I feel like it had to make the list of the top 5 cards that people want back. So that would be the list. But there are 2 more cards that there is a lot of debate when it comes to them. I won't spend too much time on it. I will leave it up to you guys to debate it in the comments down below. But some of the cards that people want back would be Maxi and Tear Kitkallos. Now, I personally don't want either back. Probably, to be honest with you, I think they are too OP. Those would be 2 cards that I really want to know you guys' opinions on in the comments down below. And if you like this video, just a chill type of discussion of cards and stuff, if you enjoyed it, please let me know. And yeah, like I said, share all of your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.